Welcome back to the Infinity Podcast. Today I'm joined by Douglas Escobar, a multifamily investor, financial educator, and forward-thinking voice in the world of real estate and innovation as well. Douglas's journey, it's one that many will relate to, a former high earner in the corporate world, navigating anxiety, layoffs, and the constant stress of depending on the W-2 job. But what makes his story super remarkable is how he transformed that fear into freedom, building a portfolio of 2,000 plus multifamily units and helping others achieve financial independence through passive investing. Douglas, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast. It's a pleasure having you on.
It's a pleasure to be here, Zeus.
Awesome, Douglas. So, for the individuals listening to us who do not know your background, how you got started in real estate, or the journey that you've taken us, could you walk us through that path?
Yeah, but like real estate 8 years. Um, I was in the single family residential space for a while. Okay, and then I went to corporate America for a while. Got into multifamily about 10, 12 years ago. That's been sort of the real estate synopsis of my journey. I think what's important, what led it to be multifamily and why passive investing. Um, the Working in a high income job and high roles, level roles at executive global space, and basically with a lot of pressure in all the international projects and all the glorifying moments that you may have as an executive. It still is a job, and somebody else controls your time, so you're subject to somebody else's calendar. So really, that was some of the realization of the fact that you were subject to somebody else's decision at all times. Then you couple that, every major organization today in America for the last 30 years that I've been somehow involved in corporate America is always an ever constant restructuring, layoff, and what have you. I felt unfortunate enough that I was not impacted, but I saw a lot of close friends and colleagues that got impacted and saw the devastation that it created for them emotionally, financially, and their families. So that kind of was a wake-up call for me to actually take control of that, of my destiny, and how would I would let my W-2 fuel my investments in time. So.
Douglas, y ahora para los que nos escuchan en español, ¿nos puedes decir qué fue el paso o el momento que sentiste cuando te quisiste salir de tu trabajo en el corporate world, W2, a empezar a las bienes raíces? ¿Y qué fue lo que te motivó a hacer esto?
Mira, lo me motivó es que estamos bajo la creencia que tenemos un trabajo estable, seguro, que tu ingreso vas a estar ahí todo el tiempo, y la verdad es que no es así, ¿no? O sea, el hecho de depender de las decisiones de otros ejecutivos, eh, en algún momento, no importa de cuánto valor tú añades a la compañía, si eres un número que no suma matemáticamente o financieramente, ya más simplemente eh, ya no estás más en el mundo corporativo, ¿no? Entonces, ese tipo de decisiones fue que me llevó a tomar, ese tipo de escenarios y condiciones me llevó a tomar esas decisiones, después de ver tantos amigos y colegas que fueron impactados año tras año por esto, ¿no? Eh, Solo para darte así un número, eh, la compañía que yo trabajaba por muchos años, cuando yo comencé con esa compañía, una multinacional, un Fortune 500, teníamos 90,000 personas. Cuando yo me retiré y me fui de la compañía el año pasado, estábamos como por 25,000 más o menos.
Eso es increíble. Wow.
Sí.
No puedo creerlo. Huh. Well, Douglas, ahora I want to ask you, what was your emotional and like your financial state during these times? Because you talked a lot about, there's a lot of individuals who feel like high levels of stress working their W-2 job, like how am I going to pay my rent, XYZ. So talk to us more about this and then some common trends that you see.
Yeah, so there is a unique level of anxiety when you're the sole provider of your family, and when you have daughters and sons, and maybe other my family members that depend on what you produce, and the fact that you're exposed to at any given point in time that might stop. That level of anxiety is real. the pain is real. The sleepless night is real. Just because you're seeing it day after day that friends and colleagues are being impacted, and the next question that you ask yourself at 3 a.m. in the morning is, I'm gonna be next, and that's real. So that level of emotional anxiety, uncertainty, and not having really a plan B, a solid plan B. You may have a few months of savings here and there, but that necessarily gives you stability whatsoever. And just to put that in perspective, I have read a white paper back in the days that for every $100,000 that you make, you might need to wait about 12 months before matching something comparable. So if you're up in the 300, so math was quickly adding up to 36 months, and I said, well, that's just impossible.
Yeah. And Douglas, why did you choose to go into multifamily specifically? Amongst all the other asset classes, you could have done office, retail. Multifamily is very volatile at times, market dependent. Why did you choose multifamily?
So that's a great question. I had originally plans with single family homes portfolios back in the days, in the early 2000s, late 1998. I made some decent money there. I was lucky enough to sold that portfolio before 2007. But it was work, right? It was really landlording, toilets, late night calls sometimes. And it was spread out, right? So I had maybe 15, 18 homes at one point, and that really was a lot of work on top of your job that you may have at that time. So when I decided to go into multifamily and as opposed to other asset classes, I don't think that was strategically chosen. I think I just felt attracted to having multiple units under one roof. That's really what attracted me. And then I got some mentoring and some reading and how resilient that asset class has been during the great financial crisis in '08, which I was part of, which I lived it. So that's maybe some of the data points that I can highlight. But it was not strategically chosen. It just happened to land, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. I saw the benefits that comes along, with the tax benefits that you might appreciate, the cash flowing aspect of it, and that you can scale.
Completely agree. I know that multifamily, it does come with economies of scale, which is way better than doing single family rentals for the long run. So, Douglas, now for the individuals who are, in terms of our Spanish speaking audience, ¿por qué decidiste entrarte al juego de las unidades multifamiliares en temas de las bienes raíces?
Mira, primeramente crea una escala, ¿no? O sea, tienes 100 puertas o 100 unidades bajo un solo, o varias unidades bajo un solo techo. Te permite escalar, te permite manejar, te permite tomar ventajas operativamente. Un buen operador es tu mejor aliado cuando vas a invertir pasivamente. Realmente no hubo tal vez el único punto de referencia que me llevó a inclinarme más por multifamiliares que otro tipo de bienes y raíces fue realmente el hecho de que los multifamiliares fueron de alta resistencia durante la época del 2008, 2007, 2009, que fue la época de la crisis financiera en Estados Unidos, ¿no? A nivel global, pero fue vamos a decir, el bien con menos delincuencias en temas hipotecarios a nivel comercial, ¿no? Así que otras unidades, otro tipo de bienes fueron impactados, como lo fue las plazas comerciales, por ejemplo, ¿ok? Así que por eso más o menos ahí.
Douglas, when you were first starting out in multifamily investing, how did you go about building your first partnerships, raising the capital, or structuring your first deal?
Yeah. So I did a lot of reading and mentoring. But even with mentoring and reading a lot about it, really it's until you dive your feet into the water and get deep into the water, you really don't know. I mean, you get academically savvy to some extent, um, and but you had simply to act on it, right? At one point, you had to pull the trigger. Execution is powerful. Knowledge is not. Despite of the fact that people tell you knowledge is powerful, information is powerful. It is if only if you execute it, but if you don't, it's just a dead asset basically. So that was the reason. I mean, that was my how I got into it because mainly mentoring into it, and I had some friends that are really all investors that have been there in this space for many years, and I used to listen to them. How wonderful it was, and it had some challenges, but it was overall a great asset to invest in. So that's why I did it.
Douglas, right now we're in the age of innovation with artificial intelligence, prop tech, and all these new technologies that are coming out. How do you see AI playing into your portfolio, and where do you take that stance?
So as a limited partner, you got to be able to use the tools that are coming up in the market, right? Innovation I mean, 2024, 2025 are just great years for AI. It really has exploded beyond my imagination. And man, and I'm a dinosaur compared to you. Okay, so I can imagine how amazed I am for the speed that this AI has taken off. But here how am I using it? There's already underwriting models being trained with AI. So what it used to take hours of underwriting a deal might just take minutes. Okay, at least to highlight areas that you need to focus on. That's not a replacement for due diligence, but it just speeds the process by which you can analyze the deal. Okay. Um, Listen, today I use it even when I'm doing other asset classes because I'm diversified today. I'm also investing in other asset classes like debt funds, for example. Um, so I use I use AI to really, I fit AI with my information on my investment thesis and actually gives me some of the due diligence that I need to perform on that asset class before even wiring a single dollar. So, it gives me a quick glance and outline of what I should be doing, but the 30-day due diligence that I always take or more is there because I do a deeper level of investigation. But when it comes to multifamily, it does accelerate my decision real quick.
I completely agree. I know that AI is speeding up a lot of the inefficiencies within real estate, and me being in the development industry in terms of construction, there's so much inefficiency. So it's really great that, both you and I are experiencing these great times within artificial intelligence, which leads me on to my next question, which is going to be for our Spanish-speaking audience. ¿Cómo estás, Douglas, hoy en día actualmente usando la inteligencia artificial en tus negocios y en tu multifamily investing?
Sí, mira, me ayuda mucho a acelerar el proceso de análisis de suscripción o evaluación de riesgo eh, a través de la información como tú lo alimentas, ¿no? Hoy en día ya la inteligencia artificial están armando modelos de evaluación de riesgos, los están entrenando para que acelere y te dé evaluaciones de acuerdo a los movimientos de mercado, inclusive. O sea, es muy interesante con la velocidad que puede detectar eh, de la manera que están soplando los vientos, si van al norte o al sur, si van bien o van mal, y qué diligencia tienes que hacer para asegurarte que puedas poner ciertas cercas de contención de riesgo, ¿no? Así que eso es uno. Por otro lado, en el lado como también lo estoy usando yo es para evaluar un bien que una clase nueva de inversión que nunca he invertido es que me dé exactamente los pros y los cons que tenemos en eso y para poder yo formular mi diligencia. Creo que es relevante mencionar, Zeus, es que yo vengo del mundo asegurador, ¿no? Entonces, la evaluación de riesgo y la contención de riesgo son parte de la ADN que yo tengo. Entonces, esas habilidades después de 16 años de trabajar a nivel global en evaluación de riesgos me sirven muy bien y me ayudan mucho para el tipo de inversiones, ¿ok?
Douglas, I know that artificial intelligence, it's still a very nascent industry and it's new to real estate. So my next question is that do you think a lot of investors nowadays are quote unquote behind when it comes to understanding the role of innovation when it comes to wealth building?
Well, I'm not so sure that I speak to the factor behind that. I don't want to be that blunt about it, but I think what I will say that if they don't keep up with the changes and adapt to that, they will be left behind.
Agree. That makes sense. And what do you think? Can you hear me, Douglas?
Yes.
What do you think that the LP investor experience is going to be within 5 to 10 years as AI and innovation takes off?
Can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, what do you think the LP investor experience is going to be like within 5 to 10 years as innovation takes off?
Oh man, that's gonna be it's gonna be their DNA as to a risk evaluation and mitigation is going to be part of their underwriting assumptions and tools to invest.
Sounds good. Douglas, can you talk to us more about the masterclass and your education? I know you're big on educating people because you told me that you got integrated through mentorship, but how are you incorporating mentorship and your masterclass when it comes to real estate investing?
So I have created the 5-day email series where I talk about the 5-7 elements that any limited partner or investor should be looking at before they wire a single dollar to any operator. Okay, um, so I talk about the metrics, but the number one um, variable that they need to actually look at is the operator. The deal is not the risk, the operator is. So if you really select carefully the operator you're going to work with by identifying uh, criminal background checks, company aging, and full cycle they may have had, how they responded in adversity, that's almost more than 50% of the battle, because usually those are being battle tested operators, especially they have had more than 10 full cycles. Okay, they seen quite a few ups and downs in the market and how respond. So that's number one. Then there is the basic metric functions that you look on understanding the rent projections, the job growth of the market, the population diversification, what have you, the area they're looking at. Are you invested in a boom bust market, or are you investing in a secondary, tertiary market? I personally prefer secondary or tertiary markets. Okay, for steady cash flow.
Yeah, makes complete sense. Y Douglas, para las personas que quieren invertir su dinero, sean los LPs, ¿cuáles son algunos de los riesgos que deben de estar cautelosos antes de mandar cualquier tipo de inversión o capital?
Mira, una de las primeras más importantes para mí es evaluar el operador con que estás trabajando, o como se dice en inglés, el sponsor, ¿no? El que tiene la oportunidad de inversión. Eh, no te dejes llevar por los diseños de las presentaciones que te dan con los números bonitos y suculentos que te ponen que puede llegar a multiplicar tu inversión. La verdad es que todo eso, el papel aguanta con todo lo que se le ponga. Entonces, la parte más importante es evaluar al operador cuántos ciclos completos ha tenido de éxito, cuáles han sido las adversidades. Si tienes un operador que ha estado más de 10 ciclos o full cycles o full deals, como se dice, o negocios completos, lo más seguro es que ha tenido adversidad. ¿Okay? No conozco uno todavía que ha tenido tantos y no ha tenido alguna adversidad, porque sí los hay, ya sea atraso en construcción, ya sea atraso con property management, ya sea algo, sorpresas que han pasado, cambios en el mercado. Cómo responden a la adversidad es bien importante. Lo demás es prácticamente validar las variables con las que se está asumiendo el riesgo, el crecimiento de renta, si es realista con el mercado, si estás invirtiendo en un mercado primario, secundario, terciario. Yo en lo personal me gusta el secundario y el terciario porque son mercados estables y son mercados de flujo, ¿no? A la final el flujo, el cash es, como ustedes dicen, es el rey, ¿no? O sea, lo que te paga las cuentas de hoy, eso no es el cash flow, es el...
Sí, exactamente. El flujo de efectivo es la cosa más importante. Douglas, and now going back to when you were working your W-2 job in the corporate world, do you think there was a certain mindset shift or something that changed your mentality that, oh, I need to escape this, I can't be living like this anymore? What was that turning point?
Mira, sí, tienes un cambio, I'm sorry, this is so there is a shift in your mindset. You had to really undo or unlearn that your job is security, that your W-2 is secure, that you had to be in the system to be safe. Okay, that's totally inaccurate. Don't take me wrong. W-2 jobs are great. As a matter of fact, I mean it allowed me to fill my investments in time. Okay, I took the W-2 to fill my investment, but the fact that, but if you believe this is going something secure, no, that's nothing secure. I mean, the dynamics, the mechanics, and the financials of the company, the corporation you're working for can change overnight, and decisions need to be made. And if you're working for a public company, you need to protect shareholders' value. And if you're working for a private company, the owners need to protect their family values. Okay, so at the end of the day, there's nothing secure. So you should take the time to always get Plan B. So you need to basically undo what the system has trained you to believe, that the W-2 is secure, and that you have to be in the system to be safe. You know?
Douglas, I know that right now are kind of difficult times for the real estate market in general. Where do you see the economy headed, especially when it comes to multifamily investing within the next 5 to 10 years?
Listen, with the housing crisis issue that we have, affordability, I mean, the affordability issue, Class B, C assets are going to be always in play. Okay, um, and as long as there is shortage of housing, there will be a need for a space to rent. Until we really address the issue of the inventory levels of single family homes and the affordability aspect of it, I still believe that the multifamily is and has been for decades is still a very resilient asset class. Okay, even if we elevate the ownership percentage on the populations that own homes, um, still still there would be people that need to rent. Okay, for different reasons, right? By necessity or simply because uh, the dynamics of their of the workforce, commands for them to be moving from place to place. You know.
Yeah, completely agree. I know that multifamily is always going to be a relatively stable asset amongst every single cycle, so that's awesome. And Douglas, now shifting this same question to our Spanish-speaking audience, ¿cómo ves la macroeconomía en temas de los negocios multifamiliares dentro de los próximos 5 a 10 años?
Mira, pienso que el lugar para ir y tener un espacio siempre va a existir, especialmente porque tenemos un problema de costeo o de accesibilidad de ser dueños de casa, ¿no? Y hay una diferencia entre lo que es el promedio de hipoteca, el costo de la hipoteca, versus el promedio de renta, a favor de renta, ¿no? Que es mucho más accesible. Y mientras tengamos ese problema de crisis de accesibilidad, y tengamos corto o faltante de inventarios, obviamente siempre va a existir la demanda. Eso ha sido el caso por los últimos, te diré yo, los últimos 30 años por lo menos que yo te puedo hablar. Ese ha sido siempre una constante. Eh, no veo por qué va a cambiar en los próximos 5 años, al contrario, pienso que vamos a seguir en similares circunstancias de demanda.
So let's have 3 more questions left for this interview. My first one is, what is something that you're deeply excited about when it comes to the multifamily game within the next 5 to 10 years? Something that excites you.
Um, what excites me the most, I think there's some good deals coming up in the next few years. I mean, it's already happening. So the next year, this year, next year, probably 27, we'll see some discounted properties coming up. Already seeing it. Number one, because we have the maturity cliff, right? That is already taking place on some of the loans, and it will mature next year. Okay, we're gonna get more of those. Unless the interest rate changes, a lot of these people will be forced to sell. I think it's being either an operator in owning a multifamily or being a passive investor in those is a win-win situation, just because there's always a need for demand of those places. You know, you have to be selective. You have to evaluate the risk. You have to really select where it's appropriate. You know, I try to avoid boom or bust markets. All right, I look for steady markets today. You know, I don't like to go into the Austin's type of things in Dallas, Austin, Texas, where we saw the boom. The same thing is happening in Tampa, Florida, in other cities around the U.S. But if you stay in the heartland, Midwest area, they're much steady.
That's awesome, Douglas. And I do completely agree on that. Try to avoid the boom and bust markets and just try to be more stable as you can, especially for the long run. And another question, Douglas, before my last one, is what would be the best piece of advice you would give to someone who's trying to get into multifamily investing, wants financial freedom, and wants to change their life? What would you say to them?
Number one, start with conviction. That you need some sort of plan to your current, you need a backup plan to where you are. Okay. Number two, educate yourself. Right? You had to go, if you're going to invest, you need to know where what you're investing in. And three, execute. Don't take that paralysis analysis. Start small and let it compound.
Douglas, now for my final question. Just in general, what would be the best piece of advice that you could give to someone about life?
About life?
Anything. Best piece of advice.
Um, oh, I think you owe it to your future self and to your family. What is the time trying to provide and leave, right? So number one, that be authentic. Be honest with yourself, and that'll take you into a reflection point or with the next section. At least identify what you really need to do, right? I mean, we talk. This is a topic. Plan B can be anything else that provides some sort of cash flow benefit. I promote multifamily because that's how I succeeded myself. But I know many other people that have gone different routes. Okay, but the point being is I just wrote a book called Work Optional. You know, it's a risk managed path to passive income for insurance professionals, but in reality, it's for every professional. Okay, it became a bestseller in Amazon about 4 weeks ago, and it talks about optionality. So don't limit yourself to one lane. Create options. Once you create options, you start leveling that unique level of anxiety that comes along by being the only provider, or that your income is heavily that you rely heavily on your income for your everyday life.
Thank you. That's a great piece of advice, Douglas. And now shifting this same question back to our Spanish-speaking audience, ¿cuál es el mejor consejo que nos puedes dar?
Sí, creo que nos debemos a nosotros como individuos y cabezas de familia es el tipo de vida que familia, ¿no? No tenemos que estar relegados a una sola opción, hay que crear planes de acción, planes de soporte, planes de respaldo. No necesariamente tenemos que estar en una sola línea. La realidad es que crear opciones te abre una serie de beneficios. Primero te da tranquilidad mental, espiritual, porque tienes cómo responder entre cualquier adversidad. Um, Acabo de escribir un libro que se llama, lo titulé eso, Work Optional, y prácticamente es, trabajas porque quieres, no porque tienes que. Es decir, cuando tú tienes ese control en tu mente y en tus energías, realmente te da esa tranquilidad, esa paz que necesitas y por lo tanto se refleja en cómo te desenvuelves en el día a día. Obviamente, si eres espiritual, en el caso mío yo lo soy mucho, creo en Dios, ese es el primero con el que me apoyo, pero el segundo es mi familia, ¿no? Entonces, y no solamente permite, cuando tienes opciones, te permite dar un poco más hacia afuera, a los demás, servir a otros, dar a otros y servir con espíritu de servicio y de caridad, ¿no? So.
Gracias a Dios, Douglas. Qué bien. Me encantó esa respuesta. Y Douglas, where can people find out more about you, what you do, your services, and just more about real estate investing in general?
Yeah, listen, they can go, there are, you can find me there, the Douglas Escobar, and that's it, or they can go to my website, www.escfreedominvestment.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Douglas. Fue una bendición tenerte. Dios siga bendiciéndote. Lo aprecio mucho, Douglas. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Zeo. Por
Awesome.
tenerme acá.
Awesome. We'll be in touch. Bye bye.
Bye.